Welcome to Reaching Out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237, Teamsters. Our guest today is President of the Patrolmen Benevolent Association, Patrick Lynch. Patrick, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Currently, we have some fiscal problems in New York City, and New York City municipal workers are asked to sort of help out like we did in the 70s. How do you see that shaping up for the police department and its budgets?
I tell you, safety is the number one factor in bringing money into the city always, during tough economic times or when things are relatively good. If people don't feel safe on the streets of New York, they're not going to spend money. Tourists won't bring their family here. Real estate prices will plummet. Business won't want to stay here. And that all goes to our tax base. It all brings in tax revenue, which makes the city healthy. So it's important that New York City Police Department is kept strong, but also to extend that to all municipal workers, because we each do a part in making this city run. You wouldn't know it sometimes when you hear the talking heads, and you wouldn't know it when you read some periodicals. But the reality is New York City runs because of our workers. New York City was built because of our workers, and that's where the union movement came from. And the union movement was there to make life better for each of those workers. But remember, those workers live here in the city. 60% of New York City police officers live in the confines of New York City. So not only are they working to make the city better, but they're also paying their taxes. They're going to the theaters, going to the restaurants, spending the money here. So not only are we making it safe where people want to spend the money here, we in turn are living here, which goes to the tax base. So it makes for a strong city, makes for a better economy. And I think you see a turnaround here in New York City a little bit before the rest of the country, but I think we're on the road to repair.
Now, you would not think 60% of New York City police officers live in New York City. It sounds like you would you live in Jersey, you live in the adjoining counties, but that number is significant and it's high. 60%.
It surely is, because sometimes a story gets told by someone else, and it's like an urban myth.
Yes.
It believes like we're an invading army, we're from outside the city, we're all from Long Island, and it's just not the case. Like I say, 60% of us are here in New York City. And those that may move out, it's because they can't afford to live here in New York City, which circles back around to pay a livable wage. The city gets the benefits. They pay out, we pay back in, making the city strong in economically as well as safety.
Now, there are going to certainly be some challenges because I don't think that New York City is going to be able to afford as many municipal workers as in the past. And you and I both know that because we are both facing the same things. We're looking at a smaller workforce, maybe a better paid workforce, but it's definitely going to be a smaller workforce because of the economy. How do you see the challenges being met by the New York City Police Department?
I see the challenges as enormous. We're right now, as we speak, down 6,000 New York City police officers. We have less police officers today than we did on September 10th, 2001. Every other police department across the country has become more robust, as everyone likes to say now. We've grown. Other departments have grown. We've been reduced by 6,000 workers. So they like to say work harder and smarter, do more with less. Well, we have been doing that. But there's also a breaking point that you have to watch for to make sure we can continue the renaissance of New York City. Like I said earlier on, people spend money because they feel safe. So we're really at a crossroads now. If you want to continue the renaissance of the city by continuing a strong police department that keeps things under control on the streets, keeps things safe. So there has to be some decisions made at City Hall and at state government, and especially the state government now as we go through the budget fight, to make sure they don't shortchange New York City. And I don't want to sound like I work in City Hall, but that's the reality. Look, we're the economic engine for the entire state.
That's true.
We surely, we surely should be taken care of. And the way of taking care of that is making sure the street's safe. 6,000 less police officers is pretty difficult to keep the lid on it.
Well, we're actually the economic engine for the country and possibly the world.
Absolutely, and you know that by the terrorist attack. They're not attacking someplace that won't have an effect in their warped minds. They attack New York City because it does drive the entire country.
And speaking of terrorist attack, before we speak about the terrorist attacks, how is New York City faring with getting its share of monies to combat terrorists from Washington, D.C.?
I think it's a difficult fight. I think all these years out from September 11th, I think it's getting lost in a lot of folks' minds. I mean, we feel it every day here as we work on the streets and we tend to our family needs in the city of New York. So you still feel it coming out of the concrete and in people's mindset. But when you leave New York City, I think some folks are forgetting that. So they kind of think it's a handout to New York City, whether it's money for the safety factor, to get better programs, equipment, and personnel. But they've also forgotten the sacrifice that our members made on September 11th. We talk about the 23 New York City police officers that died on September 11th and terrible tragedy. But it didn't stop there. Yeah. We have our members by the hundreds and hundreds that are now served on September 11th, in the aftermath of September 11th and the rescue and recovery effort. They're now becoming sick with lung ailments, with cancers, and other types of ailments. So we need the funding to do a couple of things. We need the funding to continue testing and monitoring, but we also need the money to take care of those who are now sick, because on September 11th, the aftermath, you remember the World Trade Center cough. Everyone was walking around hacking, and they called it the World Trade Center cough. Well, now that World Trade Center cough has now turned to cancer, and that cancer has now turned to death. So I think Washington and other places are forgetting that it didn't end in the months after September 11th. We have men and women who are sitting on their couches, who served, who didn't ask any questions, who rushed to Ground Zero, worked on their hands and knees in the early hours and days, literally digging to bring everybody home the best they could, and then the recovery. Well, now they're at home and they're hacking up a lung. They're sick, and people are forgetting, and it's not a handout. It's a pact that society has with its police officers. Put yourself at risk, and we will take care of you and your family if it goes bad. Well, you know what? It's gone bad. And we expect that pact, that moral pact, to be upheld. And I think some folks are forgetting that.
I'm Gregory Floyd, and this has been Reaching Out. Our guest was Patrick Lynch, president of the PBA. Patrick, thank you for coming on.
It's a pleasure. We had a good, intelligent conversation. I hope it goes further.
Thank you.